What's up, YouTube? It's your boy CJ back here today with another video. Today I'm here with my dad.
What's up?
And we're going to be going over the recent podcast that Joe Budden had with Larry Jackson. Larry Jackson's the executive at Apple. He is now the founder, I believe, of the Gamma record label. So basically, there's a lot of, I want to say over the past few months, because I think Joe Budden is the one that started this theory that Drake he owned a percentage of a lot of these artists' publishing deals.
How long was this?
How long was what?
Was this before the diss and all the going back and forth with other artists?
Yeah, I believe this was after, because Joe Budden came up with this theory because he was wondering why.
When this theory dropped that he's supposed to have brought out?
I believe it was back in April. Back in April. So he was wondering exactly why was everybody so mad at Drake, and why was everybody trying to come at him at the same time, type of thing. So he was just saying that it could be possible that the deal that he had, a part of that deal was him owning a percentage of certain people's publishing. So part of Gamma's a record label that Larry Jackson founded, I believe, recently, not too long ago. And some of the notable artists that are on that label would be Sexyy Red, right? And we see Drake hanging around Sexyy Red so much, and everybody's like, why is he pushing this girl so much? Why is he, posting her music and being in her videos? Ross is also on that label. Snoop is too. So they were thinking he was thinking what's going on? So Joe Budden was kind of trying to tap into that theory to see exactly, if that was true or not. So he had this interview with Larry Jackson, I want you to see, and he brings up this question to him, and I just wanted to show you, his reaction to see what your thoughts would be on it, and what you guys think about it too, because this is something that's been circling around the internet for quite some time. So yeah, let me pull up the clip and let's get into it.
Do you think that Drake's deals are a point of contention for his peers?
I can't answer that question. It's not appropriate or my place. I have to definitely display good cultural etiquette. So
my wild theory was that Drake had to have some type of hand in Gamma, which is why he's promoting Ross albums and Sexyy Red, and he must have some type of deal that's not even available to other people, to whereas he gets to be the owner and player, or player and whatever that other title is.
Private equity was investing so much money into catalogs because capital was cheap. In 2019, 2020, interest rates were very low, so borrowing capital was very easy. Streaming is that it's provided predictable insight into recurring revenue. So like I was saying earlier, it's very easy to predict what something can do, what it can generate, because there's now all of this historical data now going back to the early 2010s around what things have streamed, and it's very easy to figure out and calculate and quantify. There's a myth out there that catalog is bigger than it's ever become, and I think it's actually an intentionally skewed perspective that's been seeded, because anything that's considered catalog is music that is older than 18 months. So the thing that I'll say to you about the artist you just mentioned is that if you look at his music, he's bigger than the 70s, 80s, and 90s combined. I don't mean one artist from that era, I mean all of those eras combined.
But do you
I think he's full of shit.
I mean,
no, because it's organic. So this now, I'm gonna make this quick because I don't want to, I don't want to barge in the interview, but back then it was more organic.
Yeah.
Now they play with numbers.
Do you think so?
Oh, big time.
So you think the streaming machines and all that?
Listen. Drake is a great artist, but he'll never be bigger than Michael Jackson.
He didn't say that. Why you bring that up? Why you bring Michael up?
Because Michael is the biggest artist ever to me.
Okay.
Because he's not just an icon, and it's so many things that he fall up under. Now we're not talking about the personal Michael Jackson fans. We're speaking about the artist as the numbers, what he brought to the industry, and he was doing things in countries no one can go in countries. And that's what I don't like about the artists now. They forget about the forefather who's laid the foundation for them to even go across seas. It was places that black people couldn't even go. Mike was breaking barriers like that. And now we got young artists coming out and people saying things like this to make it seem like back in the day they were doing the same exact thing, which they couldn't have.
I mean, the numbers don't lie. That's what they're
We're
saying.
not talking about the numbers. The numbers do lie.
Okay.
Because even back in the day, in the 90s, people at the record label were going buying tapes, CDs.
Yeah, those are
You got
good
me?
sales, but
what I'm saying, it wasn't in the 80s. They wasn't into that because they probably were. But what I'm saying is that there was more organic then, back in there. Mike was made from the bottom. I think what they're doing, what he's saying, and when he says this about one artist, he's causing an issue for Drake to make Drake put him on a pedestal that he's bigger than everybody. And you can't do that because we don't know if he's a plant or not.
you think Drake might be an industry plant?
Something about him is different.
That's funny you said that because a lot of people are saying that now. Like
something is different about him.
I don't know.
Listen, okay, let's catch at the end.
No,
you got this.
that's it.
That's it?
That was just a clip. Yeah,
okay,
that was the clip.
Good.
So yeah, the industry plant thing, I didn't believe it at first. But like now that I don't know if you've seen it, but recently there's been a few reference tracks that's dropped that certain artists were singing a song that Drake had, Drake's song. They did a reference track, so Drake went back over it and so it's just like, and some of the reference track is like that sounds like an actual song. Some reference track, people use reference tracks just to get an idea on a certain flow that had a flow on a song, or just to get some ideas. But like with a couple of tracks that I've seen, I'm just like, wow, that's very similar to what Drake said.
I've heard that.
That's not off the table. Even this is what Meek was saying, right? When Meek first came out, Meek was trying to say Drake was an industry plant. He didn't write his rhymes, and people clowned Meek about it. I think Meek just wasn't prepared for the battle that he had for Drake, just like Drake wasn't prepared for Kendrick.
Right.
But I wouldn't put it off the table that Drake could be possibly an industry plant.
Because you're starting to hear things that shouldn't be said.
Yeah.
That he's bigger than every artist was in back then.
Right.
And
yeah.
I don't know what you don't know back then. Mm-hmm. There were artists that that sold not just in the United States of America. Mm-hmm. See, back then, rap was only capped to here. Mm-hmm. If he was out rapping, when Michael Jackson were out making those numbers, Drake would have just been another guy that had a gimmick, and he would have never peaked probably 100,000 sales. He would have just been another regular rapper. And back then, if you was not culturally African or you had a certain gimmick or you was a real gangster, you wasn't going nowhere. You were just another rapper. But back in those days. And back in those days, rap didn't even get it was underground damn near.
Yeah.
So now you're going to take something like you're underground to a guy who was selling millions and millions of records, and then you come 20, 30 years later and come back and say that he's selling now what they sold back then. Then every artist, the times are different. And if he is, I still say they playing with numbers.
You don't think they were playing with numbers back then?
They could have, but listen, Michael, Whitney, and Prince, they were blowing countries out, tours out, stadiums out.
Understand.
There's no way Drake could have been an artist when they were out and do the same numbers. That's all I'm saying.
I don't.
There was no way, because there was no artist that was doing that. Run DMC was the only ones that were close to selling out arenas.
I understand that, but it's a different ball game now.
But I'm saying though, don't use him as it is. But what I'm saying, don't compare him to greatness.
But
he's great at this time.
I don't think they're comparing to greatness. They're looking at solid numbers, and he's putting up the same numbers that they were putting up back then. Granted, I know back then it was a lot harder to sell, to purchase stuff. You had to go to the store, buy an album, or get a record, stuff like that. It was a lot harder. But sales-wise, number-wise, this is what he's bringing up. He's saying Drake, his numbers, he's bigger than any artist from that era combined. That's what the numbers are showing. So, like,
I still say the numbers could be rigged.
They could be skewed a little bit, but like.
But this is no. He's a good artist.
Yeah,
I tell you that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to him, let's say Drake came out the same time as Michael Jackson, Whitney, and all of those guys.
Yeah, 100%. He would never.
He wouldn't have even got a peak. He probably would have got one. he wouldn't even get half of arena field because rap wasn't looked at like that.
Right.
Now it's a different time.
Yeah.
There's no competition out there really for him. He's like kind of standing alone. And if this is true as him being an artist and also an owner, now the game changes now. So there can be rigged in numbers. That's just my opinion.
Do you think that's more of a boss move, or you think that's kind of like that plays into the culture vulture thing again?
And on Drake's behalf, that is a great move because ownership is what makes you rich.
Right.
Ownership makes you have control. But when it comes to him and the other stuff, that's something I don't see because I was around in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I was around when hip hop first came out. Mm-hmm. I was born in the 70s. Mm-hmm. So that means that I've seen it all and I witnessed all the artists who was out in and what was numbered, and rap wasn't even looked at like that. So when you start comparing yourself to them, walk in those shoes at the same time they did and see what you were doing back then as an artist, you wouldn't even peak. No one would really know you.
He wouldn't be as successful just because his genre of music, him rapping and also him singing. We never really seen that before on a mainstream level. So
we'll take the singing away. Let's just keep him as an artist, a pure artist.
Artist, we mean pure artists.
There were rappers doing that back then, but they singing and rapping, but it wasn't real singing. What happened is
Cool J.
But no, there was other rappers. I can't name it now because we're in a discussion. It's deep,
I understand.
And I'm a little passionate about it because I don't like when a lot of old school guys. I don't like when number guys come up here and do numbers like that. And it's a different time. Drake wouldn't have ever got looked at. Like I said
you
before,
think it's a lot easier now?
Of course, there's no competition.
So why is not everyone else doing what he's doing? I'm just playing devil advocate.
Like no one else?
Yeah.
Because
he's on a whole different level when it comes to streaming, everything, numbers wise.
Because it's a lot behind that. Drake is not fearful. He does not put that image that record company wouldn't back him or do business with him. Okay. Because for one, and to be honest with you, it seems, I don't know what it is when it comes to, I hate talking about this. But when it comes to lighter blacks, a lot of industry would put their money on him because they feel no threat from him. He's safe.
He's more marketable.
He's marketable. And when it comes to that, they use him and then he can sing. And he's a Canadian artist. And then he got the backing of Baby and Wayne. They took him and also he can sing well. So they use everything that Drake can't help that he's in a position he's in because he's just pure talent, right? But what happened is that people are starting to say goofy and dumb shit like he's bigger than Michael, and you notice he plays on that now.
Yeah,
he does. He's starting to play on that, and it's kind of like disrespectful. You know what I mean? He does little things with Tupac.
I don't think he does it in a disrespectful way towards that specific person. He just does it in a disrespectful way towards his opponents, the opposition, that try to comfort his spot, saying like, "Hey, you guys are nowhere near me. I'm one hit away from Michael Jackson. I'm this, I'm that. The number, check the numbers, check the score." I don't think he's doing it to discredit to what they did.
No disrespect to the youth and what's going on, but they don't. A lot of these people don't care about the artists on where they get their penmanship from, where they was raised, how they came up in the struggle when they started rapping. Like if you go and get a lot of the old artists, you can see a timeline where they came from, where they peaked, who gave them their first break, when they broke, when they became their first gold album, their platinum album, when they started doing it. Just you can see it. But with Wayne, you just saw him always been kind of like always carried all the way through. Yeah. He's been cradled all the way through. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he might have had hard times on coming up and trying to figure out where he gonna go. Like we didn't really see him too much when he was dealing with Rap a Lot and a lot of other his beginnings. It's a lot of and everybody has beginnings. Yeah. But when it's getting out of control now with these narratives about what he's doing and the business aspect, he's supposed to do that. Right. More power to him. But when it comes to the other stuff, I don't know. The other stuff that I don't know. It's just too much. They're putting him on a pedestal. Now they're making me believe Is this young man a fucking
Industry plant?
Is he a plant?
I don't know.
Is he a plant?
I wouldn't put it out. At first, like I said, I didn't think so, but now as stuff's starting to come out, you're starting to read certain stuff. I'm not gonna say he's not. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he is.
It's too many. It's too many. It's too many. Too much going on, and you can see it, and everybody beefing with him, and something is going on behind the walls of the record industry.
It
and the
could
heads know
be
it.
the publishing thing. He could, because they said him signing that $400 million deal with Universal was fishy. People believe that whole $400 million wasn't like
A full 400 million. He might have put. He might have ownership, and that's probably what probably happened.
Catalogs, right?
We doing good business. Whoever's his business agent is, or whoever doing his manager, they doing great business for him.
I think it's
He doing a good
move,
business.
but some people might look at it as he's taken from the culture by doing that.
Yeah, that's hate though. You can't hate a brother. You can't hate him from doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I look at like any young rapper that comes up, and if he can be business savvy, that's what you want. That's the reason why the 90s and the 80s rappers are right they are today.
Right.
Because they wasn't business savvy.
Yeah.
And they wasn't allowed to be business savvy. But he is.
Yeah.
So that's where it is.
Yeah. Well, let me know what you guys think about this. This is like a trending topic. I wanted to talk about this because this is something that's been on my mind, something I've been seeing a lot. But yeah, that concludes today's video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications.
Nice
Next video.
watch. Run it. Hands in the air now. Hands in the